Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are in another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Good morning, Peter.
Morning, Bill.
No pretty girls today. Sorry.
Oh boy, very sorry. But I made a new Facebook friend from Australia.
Oh, good.
I don't know why. She's talking to me. I don't know why.
Okay. There you go.
That's nice.
Podcast number 316. The title of today's podcast is Why Are Sellers I'm going to try this again. I got to get my tongue in my mouth and I got to use it, right?
Boom.
Yeah.
Speak.
Why are sellers constantly saying no to rookies on creative real estate deals? The description. Is there an actual formula you can use when talking to sellers? Or should you casually speak to sellers so you don't sound like you are reading a script and coming off spammy? What if we could teach you the middle ground on today's podcast? Think that could increase your wealth and reduce your time or effort? This is not a podcast about scripts either, or about logical things you say to sellers and think work. No, I am talking about some basic underlying rules you need so the seller wants to keep communicating to you and feel like you can really help them. There's no books, courses, seminars, or videos to get what we're going to teach you on today's topic. It is raw experience I have gained by talking to thousands of sellers and coached hundreds of private coaching clients. So this episode could be considered rare, which is why I expect it to be simple, memorable, inviting, and fun to use when talking about creative real estate to sellers, yet put you light years ahead of 99% of all the other investors.
So it's not scripts. It's not being logical. What could it be?
Here we go. So before I get started, thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for being here. Hang on one second.
Yes.
So I don't know. It says my I don't understand. My connection is unstable.
Oh, maybe they're talking about you.
Yeah.
Your connection's unstable.
Which I don't understand at all. Okay, it's fine now. All right, so I'm going to start off with thanks everybody for being here, and thank you for all your support. You send me support tickets, you give us a bunch of likes and stuff like that. But just want to remind you that wherever you're watching us or listening to us, please subscribe to us. Leave us a thumbs up or a like or a dislike or whatever you want to do. Leave us some sort of a review, because we actually look at those and like to see your feedback, which is really cool. If you want to get part of our group, you can go to WhatsApp Messenger and join the group at Let's Talk Real Estate. Also, if you want individual attention from me, I have a question for me, then go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. Top right-hand corner of the page is a support link. You can send a support ticket, and I answer them myself. Good. So with that said, make sure. The last thing is we record this podcast every Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you go to Facebook, if you go to YouTube or Twitter, I don't know how many people go watch us on Twitter, but there is we're live, and I have a screen up in front of me, and you can ask a question, and I see it in front of me, no matter which platform you're on. and we'll answer your question. Just make sure the questions are pertaining to the topic we're talking about on the podcast. Otherwise, I'll either comment that you need to send a support ticket, or I just won't answer the question because we kind of only have so much time to be here, and I don't want to get diverted. I have enough of that when I do the monthly mastery, and which, by the way, the third Wednesday of every month, I do a free deal structuring meeting at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you go to the website, Flipping Houses for Rookies, you can go there too. Okay. Enough of that. Peter, I would like to start today's podcast off by jumping into the deep end of the pool. So here we go.
Jump, Bill, jump.
Confidence. What does it
Say it again?
Confidence. Confidence.
I wasn't sure if you said competence
What does it mean?
or confidence. Just because of the connection.
Confidence. Confidence. What does it mean?
Yep.
Here's a definition. So there's more than one definition for the word confidence, which is why I'm talking about it. So the first definition, which most people think it is, right? The first definition is the state about feeling certain about the truth of something. So it's a state of feeling certain about the truth of something.
To the point you're willing to confide in someone else about what you heard. Mm-hmm. Confide.
So, exactly. So the interesting thing is if you have too much confidence that you know it already, what will happen, Peter?
Well, you think you know it all, so you don't need to learn anymore. You won't pay attention. You won't listen. You might not listen to sellers and buyers. You might not.
Right. So here's my point on what you just said. If you think you know it already, your observation skills get thwarted and you're not observing. So in my world, of course I do a lot of it, so in my world, study equals observation.
Yes, definitely.
Right? So either you're observing the concept the writer of a book is trying to get across, or you just stand and look at a statue and you're observing it so you can learn about it. You could be watching me doing my closing calls, which I do 2 or 3 times a week now, and I have students watch me actually make closing calls. That's studying because they're observing it. So,
That's right.
So if you have too much confidence in something, you'll stop observing. But that's not the definition I'm talking about. So most people think confidence is the state about feeling certain about the truth of something. Mm-hmm. But today I want to talk about the other definition. And that is the feeling or belief that one can rely on someone or something and form trust.
Oh, that's a good one.
So that's the other definition, is the feeling or belief that one can rely on someone or something and form trust. Now I'm talking about the second definition is what I'm going to call two-way confidence.
Yeah, because the first one is confidence in yourself. Like
Right.
you believe in yourself, you trust yourself. But what good is that in a world? There has to be somebody at the other end.
Right.
Or else you'd be finding yourself sitting alone in a corner being confident. What good is that?
Right. Well, Buddha did it and it worked.
Yeah, but then he went and told people about it.
Now, this two-way confidence is what I want to talk about. Where not only the seller has the confidence in you, but you have confidence in the seller's performance.
Sure.
See, what happens is we get stuck on trying to build, especially the rookies get stuck on trying to build confidence that they know what they're talking about and that they're the right person. And they have this myth or this false impression that if they come across really confident and they say the right sentence, or they spew out a lot of data, that the seller will say, yeah, you're the right guy.
Yeah.
And that's wrong. Now, if you're a lawyer and you're in a courtroom and you got a good index of words and understand the law, that's really important. But we're not in a courtroom. This is not a jury. This is not like that. It's kind of strange to me that too many spend so much time trying to build their confidence they can perform with their seller, and they get it all wrong. It's ass backwards to me. And that brings me to what I want to cover today.
Okay.
First thing I do to nail skepticism is to reverse the flow from the seller to me, not to me to the seller. So I reverse the flow from seller to me. Most rookies will be me to seller.
And explain some more?
Yeah. Here's how. I tell the seller, just like they have concerns and confidence in me, I have more concerns and confidence with them. Right? And mine are more expensive than theirs usually. Only because I have multiple properties, and often my seller doesn't. So now I will tell you, Peter, just recently, one of the things we've been running into, and we've actually commented about it on the podcast a few times, is we make deals with people and then they don't perform, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's what you're talking about. Can they trust us? Well, crap, can we trust them? I mean, I would be happy just to have somebody answer me.
Right.
Right. After 10 conversations, the 11th one disappears. Like, you could just finish the conversation.
Right.
That wouldn't kill you now, would it?
So, like, for example, last night I was doing the closing calls, and I have in Cleveland, Ohio, which is where we do business, one of the places we do businesses, and I have a girl that I spoke to that has a house that's $36,000, and she completely agreed to owner financing. We went over the price, we went over the payment, we went over the term, just like what I teach.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
She gets all done, and she says, I have another house around the corner. You want to do the same thing there?
Oh.
So I have a 2-house deal.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, after I got off the call, I would have texted Sean and say, hey, I got a deal I'm working on. Just thought you should know about it. I don't even do that anymore. Because the way I left it off with her is I need to draft up 2 memorandums.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to send them to her, and she needs to sign them. Now, I have had people sign memorandums because they're a non-legal document. They don't have to be. They could be the other way, but I made them non-legal because I'm trying to not have too many barriers.
Yeah.
I have a guy that I made a deal with the other day, last week, I think Thursday of last week. He had a property, and I made a deal with him on a 10-year mortgage and how much to pay, $1,300 a month or $10,096 a month or something like that. I was on the phone with this guy for 55 minutes.
Yeah.
Sent him the memorandum, completely ghosted me.
Mm.
I had Sean call him, and he's like, oh, yeah, no, I'm still interested. I got this job I'm working on, and I've just been too busy and blah, 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 blah. Right? Mm. So let me ask you a question. With that guy, how confident am I that he's going to do this deal and tell me the truth about the house?
Well, it just went down right there.
Right? So what I'm saying is that the point that I'm trying to make is confidence is 2 ways. We too often think that we're like putting the seller up on a pedestal, and they have like these puppet strings, and they're just running us. And I've never been like that, because I personally know arrogantly, and as my mother says, pompous. I'm pompous, right? That's my mother's word. You're arrogant and you're pompous.
Pompous.
Yeah.
Nice, Mom.
Yeah, that's okay. It's a compliment to me because it means I have a lot of confidence, because both of those things mean a lot of confidence, right? But when it comes to real estate, I have no back off at all. I will butt heads against. In fact, we're starting this new software with Creative REI Reply, and the new partner that we have that owns REI Reply, he was talking about it, and I'm like, screw them. I can make them, all of them. and I rattled their names off.
Oh, the other gurus.
Yeah, I can make them look like they're in kindergarten. Put me on the phone with them for 30 minutes live on a recording, and I'll make them look like they're in kindergarten. And I'm not bragging. It's just I have a lot of confidence, right? The point that I'm trying to make is that confidence has been shattered lately because these people make deals with me and then they disappear, and it's like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah, it's kind of rough. I mean, but I've heard you on the phone in the past, and you'll still do it now. Somebody might say to you, so a seller will say to you, like, well, how do I know you're going to do this and I can count on you? And you go, like, well, I don't know if I can count on you.
Right.
How do I know you're going to do what you're going to say?
Right.
How do I know? And they go, oh, okay. And you're not kind of nice about it, but you're direct with them, like, hey,
right.
It's not all you. It's not all me. It's both of us here.
Well, I have just as much to risk as they do, if not more, because I have multiple properties. Right.
Yep.
All right. So before I drop this bomb on them that there are, before I do what you just said, drop this bomb like, how do I know I can trust you? There are a few rules of engagement. So the dropped bomb works really well.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what I want to talk about. And one of the most important yet underutilized rule in doing deals is, I got to read my writing here. Okay, one of the most important underutilized rules in doing deals is the confused mind always says no.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Someone confused never agrees to go to the next step or do business.
Yeah, that includes any doubt, right?
Right.
I see that in the media, and I see it in conversations. They just throw enough doubt about something that you're trying to do or someone that you're trying to work with or follow, believe, read about. And just that little bit of doubt, the lack of confidence, the confusion, like, nope.
Right. Exactly.
Gone.
So here's the point.
Like
Here's the point that I want to make. Confusion, by the way, is a two-way street. See, the seller has to understand your offer suggestions.
Yeah.
And you need to understand the seller's emotions or feelings about the reason for selling. Right? If those two components aren't in, and the two components are this: the seller needs to understand your offered suggestions. They're not offers; they're suggestions. Would you consider taking monthly payments? No. Okay. Would you consider a discount? Yes. How much? Right? But you need to understand the seller's emotions or feelings about the reason for selling. And if you don't understand those feelings or why they're selling now, then you're dead in the water. The only thing the two of you have in common is money.
Yeah, and it's not always about just money. Sometimes it is, but it's not always about money.
You say all the time money is backed by confidence.
Yeah, I've read that someplace. Like, you pull out a dollar bill. Well, you're pretty sure you can bring that someplace and get something.
Right.
But if you walked in and hand the guy a dollar bill, he goes, not here, buddy.
Right.
Like, oh, oops.
Right. So
Yeah.
money is confidence. Once you have money, you can use it anywhere because it's universal.
Yep.
Right? So with that said, why wouldn't it be that way with your deals? Because your deals turn to money, don't they?
Well, I always think that a person has to have confidence, not just in you, like you're saying in the beginning, like, oh, I can do this, I know this, I've trained this, I know. They don't want the confidence in you. They want the confidence in that you can help them with what they want. I think if you find that confidence, that turns into dollars.
Yeah, but there's another step to that. So I'm gonna just explain this for a minute because this is copywriting 101. Our friend Debbie from the church is all up in arms. She's taking courses and learning how to do copywriting.
Okay.
So I've been kind of like haphazardly coaching her, right?
Okay.
So she wrote her first draft for her final essay in her course.
There's an actual course on it, huh?
She bought a course. It's AWAI. They're out of Florida. They're a big company. They're a school on how to learn how to do copywriting, right?
Yeah.
So it's AWAI in Florida, right? So she took one of their courses.
Right.
And she's doing a practical. So she gave it to me, and I read it, and I said to her, you need to read this book. So I bought her book, was $17, and I had her read it. And she's like, I haven't read it yet. I'm like, okay. So now she said to me, what do you think of the copy? I said, I think the copy was awesome. But she said, well, high level. She goes, okay, I want to hear. I said, okay, first of all, it was a letter about dog treats. It was just a practice letter, so she wrote about dog treats. I said it was too intellectual, not enough emotion. Well, I thought when I told the story there was emotion there. So I said to her, you're right, the story was good, but it didn't pull me in and think that it was me.
Wow.
And I said to her, the way you do that is by just taking your big toe and putting it into reality. So you tell your story with just a little bit of reality that it connects. Like, oh my God. I mean, think of all the Marvel movies and all the whatever the other one is, right? And you watch these movies with these superheroes, right? It's completely fantasy. But they put just enough reality in there that you can sympathize with, oh man, that must have hurt. Or
yeah, they're always getting like almost killed,
yeah,
knocked down, losing somebody, losing something and suffering. Right. They suffer. Right. They're not impervious. So like, yeah, I suffer. They suffer. Right. We suffer. Right. We are together now.
But there's just enough reality in the theme that you're with them. You're like, oh man, I'm glad that didn't happen to me. You know what I mean? So you're part of it. And that's the empathy part. So the empathy means putting yourself in their shoes, feeling what they're feeling, tasting what they're tasting, doing whatever they're doing, right? Yeah. And that's where it's been the hardest thing for me to teach. And that's where our rookies miss it, because they tell a story, but it doesn't have that little tinge of reality based on what's going on with them, meaning the seller, right? So how could you actually talk to somebody in foreclosure if you yourself have not been in foreclosure? So in that case, you better study a lot on what it's like to be in foreclosure so you can at least mock up how they're feeling.
Yeah. Well, you have to at least do something like think of times when your finances are really bad and you were worried about things, paying the bills, whether it's foreclosure or just worrying about it. Is at least you're in the right ballpark. Waking
up in the middle of the night wondering how you're going to do shit, tossing and turning, having a stomach ache, having agita, can't eat, because you're worried about the money.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with divorce. How could you talk to a divorced person if you've not been through divorce or at least had a bad relationship?
We have to think about when you were 15 and she dumped you.
Right. So and the reason why I'm bringing this up, and I've been hammering the crap out of it, is because we've had way too many deals get to the paperwork and it ducks out. And I've decided that the reason why is because we have not honed in on their feelings and why they're selling.
Yeah.
It's too much about money, because what's happening is there's so many real estate investors that are calling out of area owners that they tell you, I get 10 phone calls like this a day. Which, by the way, my first response is, well, do you have any offers? And they always say no. Or some guy gave me a ridiculous offer. Oh, really? What is that? And it's 40, 50 cents on a dollar. That was a wholesaler, right?
Yep.
So the point is that they think that we're a dime a dozen, because everybody, 99% of all investors, talk about just the money. Because if you and somebody else, if you and a prospect don't have something in common the default is money because everybody has money in common. So if you're
it's like talking about the weather when you're sitting in a waiting room, talk about weather.
Right. There's nothing else to talk about because you have nothing in common with the other person. You haven't spent the time to learn about that, right?
Yeah.
So if you find yourself in a deal just talking about money, you haven't done what we're talking about today, which is find out why are you selling. Which, by the way, the word why is how you find feelings. I'm going to go over that in a few minutes. Okay? So the seller has a reason to sell. Most often does not want to reveal it because it makes them feel vulnerable. And they might get ripped off, especially if you say to them, how much do you owe in the house? Well, I can't tell you that. Because they're afraid they might get ripped off.
I had that guy. That was the guy yesterday.
Yeah.
In 2 minutes, he finally told me, but
yeah,
because I said, no, that's okay. You don't have to tell me. I understand. Don't tell me.
Right.
And then he did.
Yeah. So that brings me to my next point, which is if you make somebody feel stupid, they try to bail out. So
I would.
So here's the point that I say it's ass backwards. So many rookies spend so much time trying to learn everything there is to know about real estate so they can have the right answer and not lose the deal. They think that if they don't have an answer, they lose a deal. And I'll tell you, not having the answer is the advantage. Because you could say to them, like you said in the past, gee, I don't know. Let me go find out. Let me go figure it out. That's a good question. I never heard that before. Let me go figure it out, and I'll call you back.
Well, I have to do that as an educator.
Yeah.
If somebody asks me a question that I haven't seen before, I'm not going to make something up so I look smart, give them bad information. That would look stupider. So I tell them the truth. You get the answer, and then you're really the superhero. Like, he didn't know, he found out, and now I know. That's even better.
Right. So let's swing this around to like a real estate thing. Like, so you have an investor on the phone, and he's got multiple properties, and you're talking about buying the property from him, and you accidentally invalidate him by saying, well, you're going to have capital gains. Did you think about that? And they're going to be like, of course I thought about that. I've sold properties before. Why are you asking me that?
Yeah.
And you make him sound stupid.
Yeah, you're assuming he doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
That's what it looks like to him.
Right. So another way to do it, the more correct way to do it, and I've even done this too. This is the reason why I know this, right? So the more correct way to do it is how much did you figure capital gains tax was going to cost you?
You're better off to assume that they've already done it. And if they haven't, you can talk about it.
Right.
I mean, start at the top instead of start at the bottom.
Right.
Yeah, that's smart. That's smart.
The other thing is, if someone feels like you're making fun of them or talking down to them, they'll jump ship quickly. So that's a perfect case of that would be like in foreclosure. Like, you have money and they don't, supposedly. Even if you don't have money, you can get money and they don't. No. Right? So one of the things that you're doing right now is you've kicked off a foreclosure program for us, and because I haven't done it in so long, you're studying some materials from Jay Connors, right? Because we had him on the podcast a few weeks ago, and we're going to have him again, and we bought a course from him just to brush up on like foreclosure because he does a lot of it in North Carolina, right? So the point is that one of the things that we do, because I mean I've done it in the past, but he's so particular on it is that you don't talk to them about buying their property. You talk to them about helping them keep their property.
Yeah, the first thing. Yeah, right. And the first communications don't even have. I see you're in foreclosure and you're all screwed up. I can bail you out. Like, that's insulting right there.
Right.
It starts just like, hey, you want to sell your house? Just like normal.
Right.
But then proceed from that point.
Another one is probate.
Yeah.
Right. I saw your dad died.
Oops.
That's insulting. Right.
Yeah, that's emotionally invasive, I would call that. Like, right. Who are you? You're no friend of mine.
Okay, good. And then the next one is if they feel like you're too smart for them to understand, they won't let you in to their inner circle where they hide their emotions or feelings. So I put too smart, but it's really, they're not connected with you. You're not on the same wavelength, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to prove how right I am about this, and I'm not even being I'm not even trying to be right, but I'm going to prove to you how important this is in your life, not just in real estate. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
There's a book that's called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Yeah.
We've heard of the book, right?
I've heard of it. I've never read it. I don't know if I ever will, but what's the point?
It's all about what a man thinks and what a woman thinks. They're two different viewpoints. Like, for example, I'll be watching TV with my wife and I'll be like, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, why would you think that? That never entered in my mind, right?
Yeah.
And it's usually something, either sexual or provocative, or like he's gonna get her, or they're gonna have sex, or like way early I'll catch it. It's like, why would you even think that? And then later on it happens and she's like, how did you know that? You know what I mean? So the point is that, or he's gonna screw him, or he's the one that's killing everybody. I don't know, for whatever reason I'm good at that stuff. So
Bill, I was watching a show yesterday, and two couple get in an airplane. The guy's taking them someplace, and they're talking. Everyone's happy. And the pilot goes like this.
yeah.
He grabs his arm and keeps flying, and they're talking. And a minute later, he grabs his arm. The first time I say to my wife, he's going to have a heart attack.
Yeah.
And in 38 seconds, the guy's like, ah.
Yeah.
And, she hadn't thought of that. She's watching the couple and the girl like, look, they're flying someplace to an island, have fun,
right.
Which is correct. But I'm watching like, oh, crap. Here comes the bad part of the story. Here comes the plane going down. Can the other guy fly? Mayday, mayday. Yeah, so I get, yeah, sure.
So men are from Venus, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So Let's talk about the word reality. What is reality? Reality means that we agree. So if you have a blue car and I think it's a blue car, then we have reality. Look, there's the blue car. But if you have a blue car and I think that it's a purple horse and buggy, then what kind of... And oh yeah, by the way, suppose you were to go into a room and you were at a cocktail party, right? And there were 50 people there, right? And all of a sudden you look up in the sky and you go, look, there's a 8-foot spider hanging from the chandelier. And people look up and there's no spider. What is automatically thought of?
Well, he must be cuckoo.
He's insane, right?
Yeah, but he may be the only one with supervision to see the invisible spider, and he's the smart guy and they're not. It's always rough being in the minority, Bill. Always rough.
So I'm not even going to acknowledge that. So the point.
Oh, is that how this works?
So the point. It's not my reality, Pete. I'm just teasing you. So the point is with my little story is, what is your reality and what is the seller's reality?
Yeah.
What are they agreeing to? Because most of them are going to agree to, well, I can give it to a realtor and they'll bring me a bucket full of cash. I could tell you the first 15 days, probably the first 30 days, but usually the first 15 days. And if you don't believe me, then get in the Let's Talk Real Estate WhatsApp Messenger group and get on one of my calls and listen to me talk to sellers. And this happens all the time. Because what happens, and I have to change this with Sean, because what I've been getting is a rash of, it's been on the market for 2 days or 5 days or 7 days. And all they do is they tell me about how they have this person that's interested and that person that's interested. And they have 4 people to come look at it and they're for sale by owners. They don't know that people are going to bullshit them and not show up or not give them an offer.
Yeah, a little bit of wishful thinking.
Right? So their reality and my reality are two different realities. We don't agree. So how am I gonna like them and communicate to them if that doesn't happen? how are they going to like me or agree with me if that? Why would they want to talk about taking monthly payments if they have 4 people coming to look at it and 3 people getting ready to give them an offer? Why would they want to talk to me about that? Right? So this is my point. So if I listen to my rookie coaching clients, what they do is they go into a forceful, I'm going to convince them that they're wrong. You know, and they go into, do you know how much it's going to cost you to sell? You know what the cost to sell is? And they go into this whole thing. I don't do that. What I do is I whack them. I waste them. I get rid of them. They're not ready for me yet. And I move on to another. Because like you so adroitly years ago pointed out, we're looking for a motivated seller. We're not trying to make one.
Yeah, I know your formula is find a motivated seller. And I know what the word find means.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just find. But, you know, in our in our hopes and dreams, we hope we can convince people. Because when we learn real estate, somebody's convincing us how easy it's going to be and how you do it. And just buy my book, buy my course, and you'll be rich and only have to work 2 hours a week, you know, and convince us. And we think we can just do that to the next guy.
Right.
Yes, you know, we drank it. But you talk about not working with somebody that's that early on the process.
Right.
You know, wait till 30 days, 45 days, you know.
They have to be humbled.
Yeah.
They have to, and that's the only way they know what the market's willing to do. You telling them, they could have a realtor tell them the same thing and they won't believe them. They have to actually physically test the market.
Yeah.
Right? That's the only way they're going to believe it. So what I'm saying is this point that I'm talking about is, are you on the same wavelength as them? Right? And the only way you can find that out is by asking questions like, what were you expecting when you put the house on the market?
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people think that they have the best house in the neighborhood. Right? Lastly, and this is specific to a couple of my coaching clients that I will remain nameless. And this is probably the biggest reason coaching clients or rookies do not make deals. The first, and it ties together with what we just talked about. If you talk in circles and they get confused, they say no. And just start concentrating. So if you're talking in circles, the seller starts concentrating on getting rid of you.
Yeah.
Instead of listening to you. So this is the yes master, right? This is the yes master.
What is that? I've never heard of that. What is that?
Yes master. Yeah. I'll do that. Okay. Yeah. I'll do that. Oh yeah. Just send me some paperwork and I'll take a look. Yeah. I'll take a look. Yeah. Just send it to me and I'll take a look at it.
Yeah. I'll call you.
Don't call me. I'll call you.
I got it.
Okay. Now, what does that mean, talking in circles? Go ahead. Take a shot at it, because I got an answer. What does that mean, talking in circles?
Well, I saw, I was on my Google Voice looking at something to fix on my site, and I looked at some forum questions. Somebody asked a question, and somebody answered the guy, and it was like a paragraph. The response from the guy trying to get help was like, you know, you could just tell me the answer simply. You don't have to do all this like confusing blah, 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 blah. I looked at the guy's answers. There's probably 3 things the guy didn't understand what it was and got lost and then just like bailed. And the other guy wasn't trying to be a douchey bag, but he was talking as if you understood it already. You have to assume the person doesn't know anything. And to me, it's just confusion of not understanding. So that seems like you're talking in circles. I think that's even worse than circles. But what do you mean by circles?
So, what happens is, in my definition of talking in circles, is you came out of reality. So you and I are talking about a blue car. Mm-hmm. And then next thing I know, I go off and start talking about buses. Mm. And the person that's listening doesn't understand the connection yet.
Oh, I got you.
So here
you're losing them. You're losing them.
So what my point is that when you're talking in circles, that means you've evaded their reality.
Yeah.
You are not on their reality, right? So you keep going over the same ideas or repeating the same actions, often resulting in confusion without reaching a satisfying or satisfactory decision or conclusion, because you can't agree. So you're going over it and over it and over it, but they're confused. It could just be that they have a misunderstood word because you're talking in $10 language. Like, I could do a land contract with you. What the hell is that?
Oh, yeah, easy.
Right? And one of the things that I'm fortunate to have as part of my personality is I'm a dumbass. I mean, literally, I'm a dumbass. So I spend time on breaking things down to simplicity. So if I don't know what a land contract is, as we talk about, I go look it up in a dictionary, or I get my lawyer on the phone, or I get somebody that understands and make them explain it to me so it's so dumb a second grader can understand it. Yep. And here's something that I talked about a couple podcasts ago that I'm going to talk about just for a minute or two that could change the lives of so many people on this call that are listening to this call. Okay?
Yeah.
What you should do is, when you think you have a presentation, or if you have something you want to talk about or something you want to tell somebody, I don't care what it is, even if it's at your job.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you're an auto mechanic and you want to explain to their customer that their pistons are broken. Right? Or their transmission drive shaft is broken. Most people don't know what that means. If you're a dentist and you have to explain to your client about something with the tooth. If you're a lawyer, I don't care if you're a plumber, if you're whatever you are, you're going to have to explain to your client what's up and why they should pay you to fix it.
That's right.
So here's what you do. You ready? This is highly sophisticated.
Yeah.
So make sure you go slow.
Okay.
Ready? Find a 10-year-old kid. Or a 12-year-old kid. Now, I'm being completely male chauvinist here, but find a boy, because they're usually dumber than the girls at that age. Okay, I know, been there, done that. I've got boys. I'm being mean, but it's true. But in any event, it doesn't matter. Try to explain what you want to do to a 10 or 12-year-old kid. Okay. Now, I recently ran into this, which reminded me of this, because I remember this, and I recently ran into this a few weeks ago, that I'm actually going to do. I need to find somebody that I could do this with. But when I write copy, sales copy, I'm going to start, I got to find somebody. I don't have somebody yet, but I'm going to find a 10 or 12-year-old kid, and I'm going to ask them to read my sales page. I'll pay them to read my sales page. You ready? Wow. And ask them to cross out the words they don't understand.
Well, you know as well as I do, while they're reading, and I shouldn't get off to them, I shouldn't talk in circles, but while they're reading, you'll know what they are, because they'll go, they'll stutter on them. They'll screw up.
I'm going to have them read it out loud. I'm just going to have them just read it in private and just cross out words they don't understand.
Yeah.
Right?
They'll cross off some of them. They won't even cross off all of them. They'll cross off some of them.
I'm telling you something so valuable right now that nobody else is talking about. This is not taught in seminars. This is not taught in books. There's no YouTube videos about this. I am telling you this as basic human nature. And oh yeah, by the way, if you have confusions, this happened to you. Somebody explained something to you. And you didn't fully understand it, and now you're trying to explain it to a customer. So So my point is, if you think you know what a subject to deal is, find a 10 or 12-year-old kid and try to explain it to them.
So we should talk like that to everybody, not insultingly, but just make sure, unless he's some kind of big investor or something like that, we should talk carefully and make sure people understand.
Because you talk in circles, because what's happening is you haven't dumbed it down enough, right?
Yeah.
So think about this. We talked about this a couple podcasts ago. So I'm gonna give you a secret in life, and I am not even joking about this. I have none of this written down. This is all ad hoc. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a secret in life. This is one of my secrets, anyways. Maybe it's not yours, but you know how life works. You know how to get happiness. It's a balance between force and intelligence. See, for a very long time, I didn't know how to read and write when I was younger. So I used a lot of force to get things done. And I wasn't liked because of it. I was called the bull in the china shop. But you can get just as much done. Now, you could be the other way. You could be really intelligent and have no force. I have relatives like that.
Yeah, see, that was more like me. I was nice and I was intelligent, but I was like too nice.
Right.
So that's why we fit together so well.
There you go. But you have to have a balance between force and intelligence to be able to make it go off. So what I'm saying is this reality gives you the intelligence, the emotional factor gives you the intelligence. So you can use force when you need to, because you're always going to need to use force because the physical universe expects that, right? But you don't need to use a lot of it. You don't need to have my New York attitude to do this. Right? You have to have a balance between force and intelligence. And if you don't have that, if you don't have the intelligence worked on in your mind, you're trying to force it onto the seller. And that's talking in circles. You know?
Yeah, it's certainly not connecting. That's for damn sure. It's certainly not reality.
Right.
You said something a couple of weeks ago when you're in somebody's house. I want to pass it on to folks as an example of how to use force correctly. Because I've thought about it when I'm talking to people. Like, do I need to have more intention? Do I need to be more forceful, more enthusiastic, and push it with like my energy? Or do I just have to really connect with people? I'm still trying to balance those two. But Bill was in the house. He told me the story. And the guy said, okay, that sounds good. I'll tell you what. Why don't you send me some paperwork? I'll look it over. And you go, no, I'm here to buy the house today. No. That's a perfect way to use force. See, I would go, okay, I would just kind of try to go along and be agreeable.
Yeah, but right after that, I said to them, what didn't you understand or what don't you like?
Right. So you did both. But it was very, very enlightening to me personally that you don't have to agree with the other person all the time. They say, do something. You go, no, I don't want to do that. But then you fixed it as well.
That's exact
good
point.
Control.
That's exact
good control.
Thank you. That's the exact reason that this podcast has evolved, because what's happening is, how do I say this? So he has his agreements that he's willing to do and what's real to him, and then I have my agreements and what's real to me. Mm-hmm. Now, you talked about a house that we were in some years ago where
the one overlooking the river.
Yeah. And we just couldn't make the deal because it just did what he wanted and the numbers and the condition of the house. I just couldn't give him all three. And we
were trying though. We were trying to be, helpful and agreeable to do something, but it wasn't right for us.
Right. So what I'm saying is that you have to be on the same wavelength. Mm-hmm. The common thing people talk about is the radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me, right?
Yeah.
But that's too broad. Okay. So some of the questions we ask, like if you ask the price, the why falls into that. Well, why that price? Why did you decide to sell now? what's happening in your life that you decided that you need to go through this aggravation?
Yeah.
I mean, those are raw questions, but, it's like, why? Why now? You know? Well, would you take payments? No. Why?
Yeah.
Well, I need the money. Okay, well, what do you need the money for?
And then how much, and then maybe you can help them if it isn't a lot.
Point is that all those questions get you down to the raw emotion because they'll tell you. It's not logical, I can tell you that right now.
No, it's life. It's, when life doesn't work out, it hurts. It gets emotional. When they have a problem, it hurts. It gets emotional. When you find out what they want, oh, that's what you're trying to do. Yeah, you got this problem with this thing they got to do. You got to move. You got to this, got to that. And they're worried about it. And if you can help them with that, that'll be pretty good. And
when the subconscious mind takes over, they stop thinking. Right? That's just the way it is. So, anyways, we got way too deep on that. The point that I'm trying to make here is that if you're not on the same wavelength with the seller, like, why are they doing it? If you're not in their shoes, if you're not feeling what they're feeling, tasting what they're tasting, seeing what they're seeing, hearing what they're hearing, and that's empathy, then you are not likely going to make a deal.
Right. Question to you, though. You're not saying that you can do this with everybody either, are you?
No.
So is there a percentage of people we can do it with, or does it vary? Like, is it harder now, or is it easier sometimes?
It's probably about 2 or 3%.
Yeah, it's a little bit low, huh?
Yeah. Most people you talk to are going to, and you just go through the questions. How much you asking? Okay, would you be willing to take monthly payments? No. How come? Oh, well, like the other one I had the other day. Well, my mother's got to be in a home. Right?
Yep. That's a lot of money.
And how much is it? It's $2,600 a month. Which reminds me, I had a deal like that and I lost it.
Okay. $2,600 a week where I live.
So I had to write that down because I actually had that deal last week and I was supposed to follow up with her and I forgot all about it. All right, good. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good. So like I said, the last two, which is, I'm going to read them to you again. The last two is, if they feel like you're too smart for them to understand, they won't let you in their inner circle where they hide their emotions or their feelings. And the other one is, lastly, if you talk in circles and they get confused, they say no and just start concentrating on getting rid of you instead of listening to you.
Yep.
That's where about 99% of all rookies or all people get messed up in creative real estate, is they don't know how to do that. See, sad thing is, and I don't talk about this a lot because it's not fair to the listener, but the truth is that creative real estate has nothing to do with real estate. It has to do with the paperwork that's attached to the real estate. The money's in the money. Like with the banks don't care about real estate other than you want to buy it bad enough to borrow money from them.
Right.
They don't care about the real estate. They only care about your emotional connection to the property so that you'll go through all the bullshit they give you to get a loan.
Yep.
Right? We're the same way. But for us to be able to do this, we're saying to you, it's better if you understand the emotional attachment of why they're selling the house, because now what you can do is you can convert them from being a homeowner to actually being an investor and making more money with their property. Because now what you're trying to do is you're trying to convert them from real estate to investing and turning their asset into a performing, profitable asset. And that's what we're trying to do with real estate. So a lot of what we talk about on this podcast is the ability to talk to people and get them to make that conversion, because it's emotion and logic that does it in that order. They have to emotionally want to feel like, oh yeah, I'd like to be an investor. I'd like to take my $200,000, because you ask them, what are you going to do with, how many times have you heard this? What are you going to do with the money? Oh, I'm going to buy another property closer to me. Why? You got this property already, like you say, you got this property already in your name, already invested, you own it free and clear. Why are you going to sell for cash and get rid of 30% of your money to go buy another property closer to you? Right? 30% meaning between the cost to sell and the capital gains tax.
Right.
So they're going to give away 25 or 30% between those two things alone so they can get a house closer to them. That tells me, AKA, they don't know how to manage the property.
Oh.
Because it's too far away from them, and it's a problem because they don't know how to manage it. They want to manage arm's length. They want to manage something where they can drive over to it and actually do it themselves, which is the wrong way to do it. Okay. Whew, I got way off topic there. So, by the way, I just created an offer tool, which I shared to you and I share with my coaching clients. If the investor's not sure what to do about which offer to give the seller based on what the seller needs and wants and feels good about, this offer tool, which is just documents, 2 documents that you can use to figure out the offer. It's amazing because it shows you how to figure out the perfect offer for the seller. Right? And that's in the link in the chat. So if you go, I'm sorry, I keep saying the chat, in the description. If you go on the link below this video or wherever you're listening to me, there's a link and it'll take you to that offer tool. Okay? So here's a few things to prevent all of this from happening. So we're going to rattle these off and then get out of here, okay?
Okay.
First, I use the creative offer worksheet that I was just talking about to know where are my parameters? What's my high? What's my low? Right? And it allows you to have your own confidence in where to go. Right? So the low is going to be where the customer or the seller, what they owe usually. They're not going to sell for less than what they owe. They don't want to lose money. Some do, but most don't.
Sure.
Okay? And then the high is whatever you think you can get in the market. And this document helps you with that. Right? Then I work on building a mental image picture on how this deal can turn out. Right? I plan to go over this more in another podcast. But what I'm doing is I'm building a mental image picture with my seller on how this could turn out. It's called benefits. Like, why would the seller want to do this? So, what's the definition of a benefit?
Well, something that is helpful to the person, something that is desirable to them, maybe something they hadn't thought about. If they do the deal a certain way, it would be good in some way, like less work, less aggravation, less time,
Right.
beside the more money, less commitment.
So the definition that I'm using is an advantage or profit gained from something. So if I don't know their situation, if I don't know their emotional state, how is it considered a benefit?
Well, you don't know what their benefit is to them. Just because you think it's a benefit, maybe that's not the one they're looking for.
Another problem with rookies is they think that just because they're offering dollars that it's a benefit.
Yeah. But even the other things like less time and less aggravation, if that's not what they're worried about, that's not what they're worried about. You have to find out what they really, like you're saying, what motivates them.
The call that I was on last night, I was talking about where the girl had 2 houses, and now she's in Idaho, and the properties are in Ohio. Okay, so she said to me, "Walk through the process of the closing." So I said, "Well, we sign a memorandum, and that gets me going because I know now you're in. I'll write a purchase and sales contract. Once you sign the purchase and sales contract, we'll get it over to the escrow company, and then the escrow company will let me know when they can close. So you can close within a couple weeks if I wanted to. Yes, I can. You see?
Yep.
So where's her reality? Her reality is it's the beginning of the month and she wants to close before the next payment cycle.
Yeah.
She owns both properties free and clear.
And they're vacant?
One is vacant, the other one's 50% vacant.
Okay.
Okay. But for now, understand you need to talk in simple terms. They understand, the seller understands. This also has a lot to do with their reality, which we talked about, and what they think or feel. And you find this out by using the Socratic way of doing deals, which is asking questions. So I'm not going to teach that here. If you want to know about that, it's Socrates. Just go Google the Socratic way of doing sales if you want. And basically what it is, there's a lot of books written about it, and it's asking questions.
Boy, if Socrates only knew that his philosophy would lead people to be selling cars, washing machines, and microwaves.
Yeah.
He'd be so proud.
Yeah, 2,000 years later. And we narrowed that down to just 4 data points you need for each deal, which we talk about all the time. That's the price, the payments, the duration, and the deposit if they ask. So you're only going to ask, so what I'm telling you right now is I'm simplifying the whole process down to you're only going to ask questions about the price, the Socratic method. You're only going to ask questions about the payment. You're only going to ask questions about the duration. And if they bring up a deposit, you're going to ask questions about that. One of the things that we talked about last night, because when I did the live closing calls last night, and we had this girl with 2 things, one of the guys that's been around for quite a while came on, because there's some new guys there, and he came on and he's like, amazing, he's like, whatever, right? He's like, you notice he didn't talk about the deposit, and he didn't talk about this, just like what he says on the podcast, so it's just me putting my money where my mouth is. I don't talk this stuff, I actually do it, right? So,
Yeah.
All right, so now the emotions or feelings come out when you start to ask why, like we talked about before. You're talking about price, payment, duration, and deposit, and you start asking why and how come and what does that mean. The emotions start to come out. Like, why that price? Why now? What do they expect when they walk away from the closing? That's a powerful question. Like when they say, well, I want $200,000 and it's worth $200,000, you say, what were you expecting to walk away with? Right? Another thing I try to do is use short sentences. I try not to go off on a 10-minute seminar or lecture that feeds into them thinking about all kinds of crazy stuff. So I talk in short sentences. Break it up. Stop. Ask if it makes sense to them. Right? Even ask for the for them to give you examples. Like, what does that mean to you? Have you ever seen that before? Have you ever known anybody to do anything like that before? Tell me what you know about it.
Yep.
Right? Now, lastly, and by far the most important thing to do is you need to keep your thoughts well organized and sequential. What does sequential mean?
Well, you're doing things in the correct order.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a natural order to things. If you're talking about the house, you want to just go through it somewhat logically. Like you ask the price of the house first.
Yeah.
You don't ask how long can I wait till I pay you off? Like
Right.
What are you talking about? Like,
Right.
How much?
And that's the exact reason why I'm talking about the sequences is you do price, payment, duration, and deposit if they talk about it. That's the sequence. This means knowing where you want to go and step by step bringing your seller through it so they have the realization this is best for them and their family. What you're trying to do with the Socratic method is get them to realize that making more money by keeping the asset is better for them. Instead of you trying to tell them to do it, you're trying to enlighten them or bring bring education to them. No,
Yeah.
you're not trying to educate them. What you're trying to do is get them to see that it could be that way for them. Let them have the realization, the epiphany. And all of a sudden, it makes a big difference. This is magic, believe me. It's real magic. Also, when you're talking to a seller, don't say we can do this or do that. Don't say we can do this or we can do that. You say I can do this or I can do that. Even if you've got a big team, you say I can get this done. I can do that. It's I and you are two big words. I can get this done. Yeah.
I see that a lot. We. Who's we?
Yeah.
Well, my partner, my associate, my assistant. The more we's they are, the more scammy it looks.
Yeah. Okay,
Who's
so
these we's? They don't know who the we's are. They know you.
That's exactly right. So I want, because we're 5 minutes over, so I want to circle back to the beginning of the podcast. The fastest way to have confidence with your seller is to not be needy for the deal. And you do that by letting the seller know they have to qualify for your participation as much as you need to qualify for their participation. And all that stuff we spoke about today should have you thinking that the confidence has to be a two-way street. Right? The reason why most rookies don't worry about confidence in the seller, is because they haven't done a deal and they haven't been burned before. You know, like sign an option agreement with somebody and then 2 weeks later you got a buyer and they're like, oh, I sold it. You're like, what do you mean I sold it? What do you mean you sold it? Right? Make the seller know they must be worthy of you using your skills to help them. That builds reality, which, by the way, reality means agreements, like we spoke about. So each closing call is building on you trusting the seller and the seller trusting you. And it's magical. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Sounds
cool.
right.
Cool. So we're over now. Don't forget, there's a link in the chat for you to be able to go get that document, the worksheet, offer worksheet, which is pretty powerful. And then the other thing is, don't forget to subscribe and subscribe to us, so when we're on the air, you know we're here. Also, if you have any questions, you can go to the WhatsApp Messenger group. Well, Let's Talk Real Estate, or you can send me a support ticket personally at flippinghousesforrookies.com. Okay. Thanks for listening to us today and all of your support. We have a lot of support from you guys, which is why we keep doing it. So thank you very much for that. And I hope you make a deal soon, and I can't wait to hear about it. So with that said,
Let us know.
We're over and out. Good day.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.